Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Easy English Spark. I'm thrilled you're here today because we're about to embark on an exciting new story series designed to boost your English listening and speaking skills every step of the way. Over the next 10 chapters, from Shadows of Discontent to a New Horizon, you'll follow real-life scenes that help you pick up natural phrases, sharpen your ear, and practice speaking out loud. Each chapter builds on the last, making your journey smoother and more engaging. So grab your notebook, settle in, and get ready to light up your English journey with us. Let's jump into Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Shadows of Discontent. I wake before the alarm, already tired. The ceiling above my bed seems lower every morning, as though the plaster itself presses down on my chest. Gray light seeps through the blinds and paints the walls in dull stripes. I lie there listening to distant traffic and the neighbor's television, growing irritated by every sound. When I finally swing my legs to the floor, the wooden boards feel cold, unfriendly, almost accusatory. I shuffle to the bathroom and confront a face that looks older than yesterday. Lines stretch from the corners of my eyes, evidence of sleepless nights spent replaying slights and disappointments. My reflection scowls back, mirroring my mood. I splash water on my cheeks, hoping it will dissolve the heaviness inside, but the feeling clings like damp cloth. The kitchen offers no comfort. The kettle whistles too loudly. The mug handle is chipped. The instant coffee tastes like burned paper. I glare at the appliances as if they conspired to ruin my morning. While I stir the granules, I rehearse silent arguments. Why my coworkers never pull their weight. Why my friends cancel plans. Why strangers have forgotten basic courtesy. Steam rises from the cup and fogs my glasses, reducing the world to a blurred outline that somehow matches my state of mind. Outside, the street is bright with sunshine, yet nothing feels warm. Commuters hurry past, eyes glued to glowing screens, shoulders colliding with mine without apology. A delivery cyclist flies through a red light, forcing me to step back. I mutter an insult under my breath and imagine a world where everyone follows the rules, a world that respects me the way I deserve. On the train, the irritation deepens. A woman's perfume is too strong, a child's laughter too shrill, two teenagers speak at a volume that drills into my skull. I cross and recross my legs, pretending to read the news on my phone while really tallying every annoyance. Headlines shout of scandals and disasters, confirming my suspicion that humanity is sliding downhill without brakes. As the carriage rattles into the tunnel, I feel the darkness pressing against the windows and against my ribs. At the office, the fluorescent lights flicker, mocking any chance of calm. My inbox overflows with half-thought requests. Someone left. Crumbs near my keyboard again. Someone borrowed my stapler and never returned it. I type curt responses, hammering the keys harder than necessary. When my manager asks for a quick update, I hand over the report with a tight smile that hides a storm of resentment. She thanks me absent-mindedly while checking her phone, and I catalog the slight for future reference. Midday brings no relief. The cafeteria is loud, the line is slow, the soup is lukewarm. I overhear colleagues laughing at an inside joke and feel excluded, certain they are laughing at me. I eat fast, tasting nothing, rehearsing comebacks I will never say aloud. Back. At my desk, I scroll social media. Everyone else seems to celebrate promotions, engagements, exotic vacations. Their success feels like a personal affront, proof that life distributes joy by mistake. By late afternoon, my shoulders ache from tension. A simple software glitch erases an hour of work, and I curse out loud, slamming the mouse. A nearby engineer raises an eyebrow. I pretend not to notice, but my face burns. The office chatter continues as though my frustration is invisible. That invisibility hurts most of all. The train ride home is a blur of neon ads and stale air. A man blocks the door with his backpack, oblivious to the queue behind him. I consider tapping his shoulder but settle for a glare that he never sees. When the train jolts to a stop, I spill coffee on my jacket and blame the conductor under my breath. Night falls and the city glimmers through my apartment window, but the lights offer no comfort. I pace the living room replaying the day's indignities. I compose angry messages and delete them. I picture heroic speeches that would put everyone in their place. The television drones in the background, a parade of talk show arguments that mirror my own inner dialogue. Before bed, I open a self-help article titled, "Find Your Inner Peace," then scoff at its cheerful tone. Peace, it claims, begins within. I scoff again, convinced the author has never faced real difficulties. I close the laptop, switch off the lamp, and lie in the dark, feeling the ceiling sink lower still. Somewhere in the distance a siren wails, and for a moment I imagine it is the world crying out in the same frustration that grips me. Sleep finally comes, uneasy and shallow. In the brief silence before dreams take over, one bitter thought echoes through my mind. Nothing will ever change until everyone else does. With that conviction, I drift into restless shadows, ready to wake tomorrow and fight the same unwinnable battles once more. Chapter 2. A reflection by the riverside. I leave the apartment before dawn, hoping the cool air will rinse yesterday's bitterness from my mind. City lamps still glimmer, casting saffron pools across empty sidewalks. My shoes clap against the pavement in brisk, stubborn rhythm, a march to nowhere in particular. I pass shuttered cafes, their metal grills etched with graffiti, and notice the hushed glow of a lone bakery where a baker arranges croissants like small golden suns. The buttery scent drifts toward me, but even that soft promise of comfort slides off my mood like rain off oilskin. I keep walking. 5 blocks later, I reach the esplanade that borders the river. Here, warehouses once bustled. Now they're repurposed into art studios and yoga lofts that won't open for hours. The river itself, a slow, broad sweep of water, lies half hidden beneath pale morning mist. I step onto a wooden landing, the planks damp and faintly creaking under my weight, and lean against the splintered rail. A gull circles overhead, its cry brief, echoing, then gone. For a moment, everything is still. The world inhales but has not yet exhaled. I stare into the water. Low tide exposes a band of dark silt near the bank, dotted with bottle caps and river stones. Closer to the landing, the surface is smooth enough to catch reflections. Gray sky, ghostly warehouses, the faint shape of my own face. I tilt my head, studying that wavering portrait, sagging shoulders, furrowed brow, eyes rimmed with sleepless red. The ripples distort my features until they seem to belong to a stranger. Someone worn thin by storms I can't quite remember. Behind me, a freight. Train rumbles across an iron bridge, and the vibrations send a tremor through the deck. The water quivers. My reflection fractures into shards that reunite only when the last carriage clatters out of sight. Something in that small shudder nudges an unexpected thought into consciousness. If the river can settle after disturbance, why can't I? A breeze carries the scent of wet earth and riverweed. It feels like the first honest breath I've taken in weeks. I close my eyes and follow it inward, noting how tight my chest has become, how my jaw clenches even when there's nothing to bite. I exhale, and the air leaves me with a slight tremor, half sigh, half release. An elderly man appears at the far end of the landing, dressed in a sea-green windbreaker, a fishing rod balanced on his shoulder. He nods at me, wordless but friendly, then settles onto a folding stool a few meters away. With slow, practiced motions, he casts his line into the misty water. For several minutes, the only sounds are the hush of the reel and the soft slap of line on water. His stillness is astonishing. He might be carved from driftwood. I watch, envious, wondering what it feels like to inhabit such quiet. Minutes pass. A faint blush of sunrise spreads behind the warehouses, staining the fog rose gold. The river brightens, revealing more detail. Floating leaves, flecks of mica in the mud, the blurred columns of the distant bridge. My reflection, too, grows clearer. I notice fresh stubble on my chin, an untamed curl of hair falling across my forehead. But more than that, I notice the hard set of my mouth, the resentment etched there like a permanent watermark. The fisherman shifts slightly and, without turning, asks, "Early start or late finish?" His voice is calm, almost amused. "Early," I answer, surprised to hear how rough my own voice sounds in the open air. "Morning is honest," he says, reeling in a little slack. "Everything you carry shows up in the light." I don't reply, but the words land somewhere deep. Everything I carry, anger, disappointment, endless lists of grievances, does indeed feel exposed by the gentle dawn. In this vast quiet, my complaints seem petty, small, yet they weigh so much inside me. The fisherman hooks a small perch, unclasps it quickly, and lets it slip back into the river. He smiles, content with the brief contact. The graceful gesture unsettles me. I realize how rarely I do anything lightly, how every action of mine drags a freight train of expectation behind it. I turn back to the water and stare into my reflection longer. What if the problem is me? I whisper, though I barely move my lips. The thought feels dangerous, electric, but also oddly relieving. If the problem is me, perhaps the solution could be me as well. No global reform required, no miraculous shift in other people's manners, just the painstaking renovation of one cluttered mind. A cormorant dives near the landing, vanishing in a slick V-shaped ripple. I track the widening circles until they merge with the rest of the river, invisible again. That image lodges in my mind. Disturbance, expansion, dissolution. Nothing clings forever. I reach into my coat pocket and find yesterday's train ticket, crumpled, useless now. On impulse, I smooth it against the railing, then let it flutter onto the water. The ticket drifts away, turning slowly, soaking, sinking. A trivial gesture, but it feels like a tiny surrender, an admission that not every relic of frustration must be stored. Another hush descends. The fisherman hums a melody under his breath, something nostalgic, half remembered. I close my eyes and let the tune mingle with the whisper of water lapping the pilings. My heartbeat slows, matching the river's steady pulse. When I open my eyes again, the sun has climbed higher, and the mist thins into ribbons hanging above the current. My reflection now looks different, not happier, not yet gentler, but curious, attentive, as though waiting to see what else might unfold. I straighten, surprised to notice how light my shoulders feel. The ceiling of anxiety that pressed on me at dawn seems to have lifted a few inches. A modest change, but enough to let in fresh air. The fisherman, apparently finished, packs away his rod. As he stands, he nods once more. "Good luck with your morning," he says. "You too," I reply, then add, "Thanks." "For what?" I hesitate, then answer honestly. "For the silence." He chuckles softly, tipping 2 fingers to his cap, and walks off toward the path lined with plane trees, his slow footsteps fading into rustling leaves. I remain at the rail a moment longer, tracing a fingertip along the wet wood. Then I turn and begin the walk home. The city is fully awake now. Delivery vans rumble past, dogs tug leashes, cafe, doors swing open, but the clamor no longer feels like a personal attack. It is merely sound, like wind through reeds, like traffic beneath bridges. I move through it with measured steps, carrying a fragile sense of possibility. Back at my apartment building, the mirrored lobby elevator greets me with the same face. As always, yet I notice a subtle shift in the eyes. Less accusation, more inquiry. I press the button from my floor and think, maybe today I won't wait for the world to be different. Maybe today I'll experiment with being different myself. The elevator dings. The doors slide open. I pocket the thought like a small stone. Solid, reassuring, and step into the corridor, ready for once to see what happens next. Chapter 3. Embracing Dawn Rituals. The morning after my Riverside epiphany, I wake in a hush so deep it feels like the world is holding its breath. For the first time in years, the alarm has not yanked me from sleep. I have surfaced naturally, moments before the first amber hint of sunrise. Part of me wants to roll over, chase another hour of oblivion, but curiosity nudges me upright. What would happen if I met the day on purpose instead of by accident? I slip from bed and pad across the apartment, moving carefully so the floorboards don't protest. In the kitchen, I switch on a single bulb above the stove, dim, golden, kinder than the overhead fluorescents that usually blind me at dawn. Steam rises from the kettle in small sighs while I gather supplies. A cotton notebook still smelling of new paper, a fountain pen, a small clay bowl of coarse sea salt I bought months ago because someone online promised it cleanses energy. Today feels like the right day to test every half-remembered promise. When the water shivers at a near boil, I spoon coarse ground coffee into a French press. The grains bloom, releasing a dark, nutty aroma that winds through the kitchen like a scouting party of warmth. I pour the water in slow spirals, watching the surface froth and settle. Something about the deliberate motion calms me. It says, nothing urgent is chasing you. Pour slowly and watch. While the coffee infuses, I move to the balcony. The city below is still blue-gray, only the tallest windows flashing with stray reflections from distant street lamps. I sprinkle a pinch of sea salt into a ceramic saucer and set it on the railing, a quiet offering to the morning, part ritual, part experiment. The cool air brushes my skin, the faint smell of dew and wet concrete mingling with brewing coffee. I close my eyes and inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, release for 6. The numbers steady the mind. The breath itself unknots something between my ribs. Back inside, I plunge the press and pour coffee into a wide-bellied mug. I forego sugar, curious to taste the day unmasked. The first sip is bitter, almost bracing, but there is complexity in it, a citrus edge I never noticed when I gulped coffee on the way to catch a train. I set the mug beside my notebook on the table that serves as both dining surface and desk. For a moment I simply sit, hands wrapped around the heat, heartbeat matching the faint tick of the clock. I date the page and write the heading Morning Pages, an idea I stole from a book about creativity gathering dust on my shelf. The rule is simple. Fill 3 pages with whatever spills out. No judgment, no edits. My pen hesitates, then slides forward. I am awake before sunrise, and I don't hate it. The sentence looks odd, like it belongs to some other person, but I let the ink keep flowing. I record every thread of thought, worries about work, flashes of last night's dream, gratitude for the quiet, even the self-consciousness of writing. Gratitude. By the bottom of the first page, my shoulders drop. By the end of the third, the buzz of leftover irritation has sunk to a low murmur. The blankness that follows feels expansive, a cleared field. Next comes movement. Nothing ambitious, just a sequence of gentle stretches I find on a dog-eared yoga card deck. I roll out a mat, bought during a short-lived fitness phase, and guide my body into shapes that feel strange but relieving. Cat-cow, child's pose, a shaky downward dog. My wrists complain, yet blood begins to glow in muscles long forgotten. While I hold a lunge, tremor in my thigh, the rising sun spills through the balcony doors, washes the wall in apricot light, and lands warm on the back of my neck. In that instant, I feel unmistakably alive. No headlines, no notifications, only tendon and breath and daylight. After stretching, I fill a glass with cold water, squeeze in a quarter lemon, and drink it on the balcony. Below, the city has shifted tone. Delivery vans crawl like beetles, and a bicyclist rings a bell that sings through quiet streets. I notice an office tower's windows reflecting pink sky, as if each pane were a separate dawn. I wonder how many dawns I've missed by sealing myself behind blackout curtains and resentment. At 7 sharp, an arbitrary but satisfying time, I sit cross-legged on the sofa for 5 minutes of meditation. I set a timer with a soft chime, place the phone screen down, and close my eyes. Thoughts stampede immediately. The unfinished report, the email from my sister, the possibility I'm doing meditation wrong. I picture each thought as a paper boat sliding down a river, watch it drift, and return to the cool sensation of breath on the tip of my nose. Sometimes 10 breaths pass before a new worry barges in, sometimes only one. The success, I remind myself, is in returning, not in staying. When the chime rings, I notice my jaw has unclenched. Breakfast is humble. Oats simmered with almond milk, sliced apple, a drizzle of honey. I eat slowly, tasting texture, creamy grain, crisp fruit, unexpected sweetness. Instead of scrolling news, I open a poetry anthology and read a single page by Mary Oliver, who reminds me that attention is praise. She writes of wild geese crying, harsh and exciting over streaming skies. I glance out and spot 3 pigeons perched on a telephone wire. Not geese, not wild, but still wings enough to lift something in me. Before dressing for work, I assemble a small ritual kit in the outer pocket of my backpack. 1 smooth river pebble, collected yesterday, a travel-size bottle of lavender, mist, and a folded index card on which I've written today's intention. Respond, don't react. The kit feels almost childish, yet talismanic, evidence that I'm allowed to practice being different. The commute inevitably arrives, but the rituals act like an invisible buffer. When the elevator stops at every floor, I breathe lavender from the bottle cap. When a motorist honks at a crossing guard, I roll the pebble between thumb and finger and recall the river's patience. The mantra on the card surfaces each time irritation knocks. Respond, don't react. By the time I reach the office lobby, fluorescent lights still flicker and someone has again stolen my stapler. Yet the fury doesn't leap as high. It rises, notices there is nowhere to root, and subsides. Lunchtime finds me on a bench beneath a plane tree, notebook open to the back pages where I've sketched a simple tracker. Sunlight icon for exercise, water droplet for hydration, feather for meditation. I shade in the morning's achievements with a blue pencil. The act is oddly satisfying, like planting flags on new territory. Throughout the afternoon, small setbacks occur. Software froze twice, a client rejected a draft, the printer jammed. But each time I recognize a choice point, escalate or exhale. I don't succeed every time. At 3:30, I mutter an unprintable word when coffee spills over a memo. Yet even then, I catch myself sooner, wipe the desk with steadier hands, and whisper a half-smile apology to the intern who heard. Evening descends before I notice, and with it a delicate fatigue, the good kind that follows effort well spent. On sea. The walk home I realize the day has felt longer, yet not exhausting. Expanded, not stretched. Back in my apartment, I rinse the coffee mug, flatten the yoga mat against the wall, and place the pebble on the windowsill so moonlight can polish its gray surface. I finish the night by lighting a single candle, writing 3 brief lines in the notebook, grateful for the taste of unsweetened coffee, proud of the moment I chose silence over sarcasm, eager to greet tomorrow before the alarm. The flame flickers, catching tiny mirrors in melting wax. I blow it out, and the room breathes darkness like a gentle tide. Slipping into bed, I feel the ceiling is right where it belongs, far above, spacious, and the shadows that once pressed on me have retreated to their proper corners. I close my eyes knowing that dawn will return in a handful of hours, bringing another chance to practice these small devotions. The prospect doesn't weigh on me. It glimmers quietly, a promise no louder than the first rust-pink edge of sunrise. Chapter 4. Mindful Pauses. The morning rituals have begun to fit me like a freshly tailored coat, but the real test arrives the moment I step beyond my apartment door. Self-improvement is easy in candlelight and silence. It's in the collisions of daily life that resolutions either dissolve or deepen. Today, I decide, will be devoted to buying time between spark and flame, learning to pause before my old reflexes spring into action. The jolt in the lobby. I ride the elevator down. With a neighbor I barely know, Mrs. Delgado from 14B, always in a rush, always tapping impatiently on her phone. Just as the doors open, her grocery tote tumbles, oranges rolling across the marble floor like runaway suns. My first instinct is to curse delays, squeeze past, and let someone else play hero. A heartbeat later, I remember the river, the stone, in my backpack and breathe once, slowly. Pause. In that breath, I choose gentleness. I kneel, collect the fruit, and hand them back. Mrs. Delgado's tense brow softens into surprise. "Thank you, Alex," she murmurs, as though learning my name for the first time. The entire delay cost 20 seconds, yet the warm afterglow follows me all the way to the street. The honking intersection. Rain begins halfway through my walk, peppering the pavement with silver needles. At the main crossing, a tangle of cars blocks the box, horns blaring, windows sliding down to launch insults. Months ago, I would have joined the chorus, convinced that rage equals relevance. Now I plant both feet on the curb, feel water beat on my coat, and count 3 long breaths, matching each inhale to the traffic lights' slow cycles: green, yellow, red. Pause. I notice droplets gathering on my lashes, the scent of wet asphalt, the faint hiss of tires. The chaos remains, but its grip loosens. When the signal finally changes, I step off the curb with the quiet certainty of someone who has met the storm and chosen not to drown in it. Email ambush. At my desk, the glow of 200 unread messages flares like a hostile sunrise. The first email, subject line "Urgent Client Revision," accuses me of missing a deadline I never received. Heat sparks up my neck. My fingers hover, ready to fire back an artful blame-shifting paragraph. Then I notice my shoulders creeping toward my ears, and I remember the lavender mist in my bag. One spray, one deliberate inhale, one roll of the river stone between thumb and forefinger. Pause. I draft a calmer reply. "Thanks for flagging this. I didn't see the updated brief. Can you forward the latest version so I can adjust right?" Away? No venom, no unnecessary apology, just clarity and cooperation. The client responds within minutes with a sheepish, "My mistake. Attaching now, thanks." A feud never forms, and I lose nothing but a single mindful minute. The elevator lecture. Near noon, our over-caffeinated vice president corrals half the staff into the glass elevator for an impromptu, motivational moment. Space is tight, air thin with competing perfumes. He launches into a rapid-fire speech about quarterly targets, snapping fingers for emphasis, his voice echoing in the steel cage. The old Alex would have simmered, counting every decibel. The new Alex studies a rivet on the handrail, matching each ranting sentence to a silent mantra. In, out, in, out. Pause. I imagine the bulging words drifting past like subway ads, readable but irrelevant. By the time we disembark on floor 12, my pulse is steady enough to thank him for the reminder on priorities. His brow lifts, uncertain whether I'm sincere or sarcastic. I'm not sure either, but the smile feels genuine. Lunch line lament. The cafeteria queue snakes longer than usual, and the daily special is already crossed off the chalkboard. A woman behind me vents, first about the rain, then her workload, then her cat's dental surgery. Each complaint lands like a drip on a drum. In the old days, I would have mirrored her frustration, creating an echo chamber of misery. Instead, I envision a traffic cop inside my skull, arms outstretched, halting the impulse to contribute more noise. Pause. When she pauses to breathe, I ask one gentle question. What's your cat's name? Her tirade stumbles, turning into a soft laugh. Mochi, she says. We spend the next 3 minutes swapping pet stories instead of grievances, and by the time we reach the counter, the kitchen has miraculously prepped another tray of the special. We both get one. Glitch and grace. Back at the desk, an ancient spreadsheet freezes, spinning wheel of doom mocking my efforts. 2 co-workers argue nearby about whose turn it is to refill the printer paper. Static builds in my head, threatening to erupt. I push the chair back, stand, stretch arms overhead, and fix my gaze on a small pot of ivy perched on the windowsill. The leaves tremble in the HVAC breeze, unconcerned by faulty software or office politics. Pause. I trace one leaf's outline with my eyes, a tiny meditation. When I sit again, the spreadsheet has revived. Autosave preserved the last entries. I whisper a thank you to an algorithm I once mocked and reload the printer tray without a word. The argument dissolves mid-sentence. Subway serenade. Evening commute. The train car is packed, humid with overlapping playlists. A teenager at my elbow blasts trap beats from a phone speaker. A suited elder tries to drown it out with tinny classical bleating from earbuds. Sonic warfare. My thumb hovers near the volume rocker of my own phone, ready to join the arms race. Instead, I slide the device back into my pocket and focus on the vibrations thrumming through the rails into my shoes. Bass line, cello, wheel squeal, an accidental symphony. Pause. Somewhere between stations, annoyance morphs into odd fascination. How many rhythms can coexist without coordination? By the next stop, the teenager nods off, music volume dropping with his chin. The elder lowers his own to read. A text. Silence expands like a benediction, and I realize I never pressed play. Marketplace minefield. I duck into a corner shop for bread and emerge to find rain has stopped, leaving puddles that mirror neon. At the crosswalk, a cyclist splashes through, one dousing my jeans. He calls, "Sorry, mate," over his shoulder without slowing. Reflex clenches fists, but breath intervenes. Inhale 4, exhale 6. Wet denim clings cold, yet anger passes like a summer cloud. I reach home damp but unbroken, saving energy for things that matter more than laundry. Screen time sentinel. Night settles. Historically, this is when doom scrolling hijacked my peace. Tonight, I set a kitchen timer for 20 minutes and open the news feed, determined to surf without drowning. Every distressing headline flickers like a match. Each time fire. Sparks. I tap the lock button, let the screen go black, and count 5 breaths. When the alarm chimes, I power down completely and leave the phone charging in another room. Out of reach, out of mind. Pause. The silence that follows feels rich, almost weighty, as if air itself rewards restraint. Candlelit debrief. I end the day by lighting the same single candle and opening my notebook. Instead of 3 gratitudes, I record each intentional pause. Lobby oranges, intersection breath, email rewrite, elevator mantra, cat named Mochi ivy leaf focus, train symphony, puddle acceptance, screen time limit, 9 moments, not perfect, but proof. That space can be engineered between trigger and response. The wick sputters, casting shadows that sway like slow dancers on the wall. I notice a faint smile tugging at my lips, an expression once rare, now quietly familiar. Blowing out the flame. I hear rain restart outside, softer than before. I slip under sheets that no longer feel like a battlefield and whisper one final vow into the darkness. Tomorrow, when the sparks fly, I will remember the breath that turns them into harmless light. Sleep arrives gently, carrying me across the threshold of midnight with the steady rhythm of mindful pauses, each one a stepping stone toward a life less ruled by reflex and more guided by choice. Chapter 5. The Power of Gentle Speech. Yesterday's pauses quieted the thunder in my head. Today I learn what happens when that quiet reaches my tongue. Words, once my sharpest weapons, become my softest tools, chiseling tension into trust, argument into understanding. I enter the day determined to test a single idea. Kindness spoken aloud can change more than silence alone. Dawn dialogue with a stranger. The sky still blushes lilac when I step onto the bus. The driver, a silver-haired man with tired eyes, greets each passenger with a rote, "Morning." I reply, "Good morning, Leo," reading his name badge aloud, adding, "Thank you for driving us safely." He blinks, almost startled, then offers a genuine smile. "You're welcome," he says, voice softer than the engine's idle. As I walk down the aisle, I feel the atmosphere shift, a ripple that reaches the passengers behind me. One woman echoes my example. "Thanks, Leo." Another nods. By the next stop, the driver sits a little taller, and every morning he gives carries a hint of warmth. 10 seconds of gentle speech, and 60 bodies ride inside a lighter bus. Coffee shop course, correction. At the corner cafe, the barista mishears my order and hands me a latte laced with cinnamon, my least favorite spice. My old reflex would fire off a stiff correction, but I recall the lavender bottle and choose patience. "Hey, I think I asked for plain," I say, tone neutral and eyes kind. "Could you remake it when you have a moment?" "No rush, I can wait." She flushes. "I'm so sorry." "It's okay," I reassure. "The line's long. Easy mistake." Relief unfurls across her shoulders. She remakes the drink quickly, handing it over with a free pastry and a grateful grin. Beyond free calories, I receive something subtler. Her stress subsides, so does mine. Two strangers exit the exchange calmer than they entered. Proof a request voiced gently is still a request fulfilled. Meeting room alchemy. Mid-morning, our team gathers in a glass box to dissect a troubled project. Tension pricks the air. People clutch coffee like shields. Jared, the lead designer, defends a flawed mock-up with folded arms and rapid speech. Months ago, I would have countered point for point, voice rising to outvolume his certainty. Instead, I lean forward, soften my tone. "Jared," I begin. "Walk us through the concept again. I want to understand your priorities before we tweak anything." His shoulders drop as he explains. I listen without interrupting, nodding at each step. When he finishes, I offer critique with cushions. "I like how you highlighted the user journey. One area we might refine is the color hierarchy, maybe adjust contrast so the call to action pops. What do you think? No accusation? No, this is wrong. Jared considers, then smiles. That actually makes sense. I can iterate this afternoon. Around the table, heads nod. The meeting ends 10 minutes early. Ego bruises avoided. Gentle speech transforms potential battlefields into gardens of cooperation. The elevator echo. At noon, I squeeze into an elevator with two co-workers locked in whispered argument over vacation approvals. Their whispers grow sharp, resentment, crackles. I clear my throat and say softly, "Sounds like schedules are tight. If it helps, I'm happy to swap one of my on-call slots to give you both breathing room." They glance at me, surprise eclipsing irritation. The taller one exhales. That might solve it, actually. By offering help instead of judgment, I open a door they didn't know existed. They thank me before exiting, their earlier friction already dissolving. The rest of my ride feels spacious, though only one floor remains. Phone call home. Back. At my desk, a text from my mother pings, "Call when you can. Important." My stomach knots. Important once meant a litany of worries. I dial, ready to meet anxiety with softness. "Hi, Mom. I've got a few minutes and all my attention. What's up?" She exhales, a shaky sound. Her friend was hospitalized. She feels helpless. I listen, murmuring, "I'm here," and that sounds frightening. No fixes, no platitudes. After 10 minutes, she says, "Talking with you calms me. Thank you for listening." When we hang up, I realize gentle speech is sometimes no speech, only spacious silence that lets another soul breathe. My chest feels warm, as if her gratitude traveled through the line to settle behind my sternum. Redirecting gossip. Mid-afternoon, a colleague strolls by, keen to unload juicy rumors about the VP's alleged misstep. My curiosity twitches, but I remember my experiment. "Hey," I interrupt lightly, "I'm trying a policy of speaking only what helps. Maybe we can wish him luck instead." I flash a half smile. "Besides, you and I still owe each other that playlist swap." She blinks, then laughs, caught off guard. Fair point. "Okay, music it is." She walks away humming. Gossip starved. Harmony fed, 7. Compassion in a cafe booth. After work, I meet Dylan, an old friend, for sandwiches. He unloads grievances about his new boss, voice pitching toward rage. I don't rush to soothe or fix, Just mirror his feelings gently. You're worried she doesn't trust your skills, I say. Yes. And that makes you feel invisible. Exactly. Naming the wound aloud lessens its sting. Dylan slows, sips water, sighs. Hearing it put that way helps. We brainstorm polite questions he can ask his boss to clarify expectations. He leaves with practical steps and a calmer heartbeat. I leave reminded that gentle speech isn't always sweet. Sometimes it is precision that cuts confusion loose. Mirror moment revisited. At home, I stand before the bathroom mirror, same place that once reflected a scowl thick as armor. I speak aloud. You handled today with care. I'm proud of you. The words land odd but firm, like seeds on fresh soil. Self-talk counts too. The mind eavesdrops on every syllable. Evening email of encouragement. Before bed, I draft a short note to the intern who witnessed my earlier spill. Subject: Thanks for your patience. Hey Sam, you handled the printer chaos like a pro today. Your calm kept the rest of us on track. Just wanted you to know it didn't go unnoticed. I hit send. A reply pings back almost instantly. That means a lot. I was nervous I'd messed up. Thank you. His relief leaps off the screen, clear evidence that tiny kindnesses travel fast, echo longer than they cost. Candle end reflections. Notebook open, candle flickering, I list the day's gentle speeches. Greeting Leo by name, cinnamon latte. Correction without blame. Meeting critique framed with respect. Elevator offer of help. Listening to mom's fear without fixing. Sidestepping gossip. Reflective support for Dylan. Encouragement, email to Sam. Kind words to the mirror. 9 again. But this time each moment required words, not silence. I recognize a pattern. Speech shapes atmosphere. Sharp words electrify the air. Soft words soften it. Precise words clear it. I blow out the candle and feel the room grow dark yet expansive, as if every gentle sentence whispered today still hovers, glowing faintly, a constellation of care. I slip beneath the covers thinking of tomorrow's conversations. How many sparks will need a soft breath? How many storms a calm question? I'm no oracle of peace, merely an apprentice. But tonight the lesson is clear. If I can master my tongue, I can rewrite the weather of every room I enter. Sleep arrives on that promise, quiet and steady, carrying the echo of gentle speech into the cradle of dreams. Chapter 6. Small Acts, Big Ripples. I wake before dawn again, draw the curtains, and watch the city exhale a pale blue breath. Yesterday's lessons about gentle speech still echo in my chest, but a new thought hovers at the edge of that quiet. What if kindness moves faster when carried by action? I decide that today will be an experiment in motion. Simple gestures, well aimed, then released like pebbles to see how far the circles travel. The bench beneath the plane tree. The first opportunity greets me on the walk to the bus stop. A leather-bound journal lies abandoned on a park bench, dew beating on its cover. I flip through quickly. Sketches of buildings, lists of guitar chords, no name except initials, RH. My bus rumbles into view, but I linger, pull a page from my notebook, and write. Found your journal by the plane tree. It's safe with a cafe on Maple and 3rd. Ask for Alex. I tuck the note where the journal had sat, then jog for the bus. A tiny errand, 10 seconds lost, yet it feels like opening a small, unseen window. Double coffee, single smile. At the cafe, I order my usual espresso and add a second one, whatever the next person behind me wants. The barista scribbles "paid for" on a sticky note and sticks it to the espresso machine. I don't wait to witness the handoff. The joy is in not knowing. As I leave, I imagine the next customer, headache maybe, or a looming deadline, discovering the free drink, shoulders loosening. That invisible smile warms me more than the coffee in my palm. The lost tourist and the hidden courtyard. Outside, a couple clutching a paper map spins in slow, anxious circles. I offer directions. Turns out they're searching for a mural tucked inside an alley most locals miss. Instead of pointing, I walk them there, 5 minutes out of my way. We turn a final corner and the courtyard blooms before them, swirls of cobalt and sun yellow, birds painted mid-lift. Their gasps feel like applause for the city itself. They ask for a photo. I oblige. We part with cheerful waves. I continue to work lighter for having shared a hidden treasure. Email to a stranger, future you. Mid-morning at my desk, I open my blank email draft, address it to future me emailtimecapsule.com. Subject line 3 good things you did today. I list the bench note, the coffee gift, and the mural escort. The service will deliver the message 1 year from now. I close my laptop smiling. I've left breadcrumbs for a future self who may one day doubt progress. The communal fridge amnesty. Lunch hour reveals a tragedy in the office fridge. Neglected. Containers growing penicillin forests. Normally, people leave passive-aggressive sticky notes. Instead, I slip on gloves, crank up a Spotify playlist, and stage a rescue mission. 2 co-workers join unprompted. Laughter bubbles over the stench. We toss science experiments, wipe shelves, and line surviving lunches like neat soldiers. 20 minutes later, the fridge gleams. The facilities manager pokes his head in, stunned. "Who's responsible for this miracle?" he asks. The 3 of us shrug and point at each other. Responsibility diffused, credit shared. Paper crane. In the library. After work, I duck into the public library to return a borrowed essay collection. At the front desk, a teenage volunteer struggles to fold a donation flyer into a display holder. It flops like a wounded bird. Remembering my childhood obsession with origami, I ask if she wants a quick lesson. 5 minutes later, we folded the sheet into a crisp paper crane. Her face lights up as she places it atop a stack of "Take a Book, Leave a Book" titles. A little later, I notice 2 children pointing at the crane and tugging their mother over to see. One small skill shared. Multiple sparks of delight ignited. Grocery line micro grant. Evening groceries. The man ahead of me discovers his card won't swipe. A bottle of olive oil and a sack of rice sit orphaned at the register. His cheeks redden. He tells the cashier he'll put them back. The total is under $10. I tap my own card. "Let me cover it. I've been there." Shame melts into gratitude on his face. He thanks me 3 times before leaving. The cashier nods approvingly and, when it's my turn, knocks $1 off my total by mistake. Ripples, outward and back again. Night shift bridge. On the walk home, I pass the hospital loading bay. 2 nurses in scrubs share coffee on an upturned crate between shifts. I remember the leftover pastry from the cafe, still sealed. I offer it. One nurse laughs. "Chocolate croissant is my love language." We chat briefly. They share that. Tonight's pediatric wing is full of flu cases. I thank them for their work. They thank me for sugar. We part under sodium lights, each carrying a bit more human warmth into our respective nights. The journal finds its owner. At 9 p.m., my phone buzzes. A message from Cafe Maple. Someone named Rachel picked up a leather journal and left this. "Tell Alex thank you. Page 23 is for them." Curiosity blazing, I jog back to the cafe. The barista hands me the journal, now sporting a sticky note on the cover. "Read page 23, then set me free again." Inside, Rachel has sketched our city skyline at sunrise, tiny bus and all. Beneath, she's written. To the stranger who turned my morning into a story. Pass a kindness forward, then tuck this journal somewhere new. My experiment has returned, not as a closed loop, but as an invitation to keep the current moving. Ripple Reflections by Candlelight. Back home. I light the nightly candle, open my notebook, and trace the day's acts like constellations. Journal rescue, coffee pay forward, alley mural escort, email to future self, office fridge revival, library crane, grocery micro grant, pastry for night shift nurses, journal sketch returned, 9 again, and odd pleasing symmetry with chapters past. Yet tonight each gesture feels multiplied. I imagine the coffee drinker paying for someone else tomorrow, the teenage volunteer teaching another patron to fold cranes, the nurses sharing croissant-powered cheer with weary parents, ripples spreading through unseen water. I close the journals, cover gently, already brainstorming the next hiding spot, a bus stop bench, a museum lobby. I place the candle stub on the windowsill beside the river pebble and whisper a vow. Whenever doubt returns, I will move my hands, however small the motion, toward light. Sleep arrives with the steady certainty of tidewater, carrying distant echoes of laughter, surprised smiles, and charcoal lines of a sketch on page 23. Proof that small acts do not vanish. They travel, gather, and one day they find their way back transformed. Chapter 7. Lessons from the Garden. The city wakes beneath a veil of soft drizzle, and I decide that concrete can wait. Today my classroom is soil. A friend once mentioned a community garden tucked between two warehouses on Willow Street. A patchwork of raised beds, fruit trees, and rain barrels surviving on volunteer hands. I lace my boots, tuck a sandwich and a thermos of mint tea into my backpack, and set out in search of green wisdom. Gate of Possibility. At the end of an alley fragrant with wet cardboard, a wrought iron gate appears, its curls painted ivy green. A wooden sign reads, Willow Street Collective Garden, come grow with us. I unlatch the gate, half expecting an alarm of city noise to follow, but a hush greets me instead. The particular silence plants make when listening to light. Raised beds sprawl like patchwork quilts, each square thick with life. Kale leaves cupped with rain, marigolds ringing tomatoes like bright sentries, pea vines climbing bamboo ladders. My breath slows. Every color seems to hum. Meeting thy mentor. Near a tool shed stands Miriam, the garden coordinator, sun hat tilted, braid streaked with silver, gloved hands deep in potting mix. She glances up, eyes twinkling. "Welcome, traveler," she says, as if she's been expecting me. "Fancy getting your hands dirty?" I nod, suddenly shy. She offers a pair of spare gloves and a task, clearing chickweed from the carrot bed. "They're not villains," she explains, "just opportunists. We make room for everything, but carrots need more today." Her words plant the morning's first lesson. Discernment isn't judgment. It's stewardship. The humble work of weeding. I kneel on damp earth. Chickweed tugs free with satisfying pops, roots pearly white against black soil. At first my mind chatters, emails unanswered, groceries unbought, but each pull is a metronome slowing my thoughts. I begin to notice details. The way earthworms surface then vanish, the faint cinnamon scent of freshly exposed loam, the rhythmic percussion of raindrops on greenhouse glass. 10, 20, 30 minutes pass. Time dissolves into the quiet spell of repetitive care. A parallel emerges. Old habits are like chickweed, quick to sprout, hungry for space. Yanking them once is not enough. Vigilance is part of tending any inner garden. I whisper a promise to myself. Keep pulling gently. Keep making room. Compost conversation. We haul the chickweed to the compost piles, layer cakes of kitchen scraps, fallen leaves, and shredded newspaper. Steam rises from their centers, warm as fresh bread. Miriam sinks a thermometer into the heap. 130 degrees Fahrenheit, she announces, pleased. Decomposition is just another word for transformation. I think of anger, disappointment, past versions of myself. Perhaps they too can be turned, layered, watered, and given time to heat until new nutrients form. Nothing wasted, only repurposed. I chuckle, imagining a label on my worst mistakes. Future fertilizer. Seedling nursery. Inside a polytunnel. Greenhouse, trays of seedlings crowd together like eager students. Miriam shows me how to up-pot basil starts into deeper cells. Cradle the stem, she instructs. Pinch the pot, set the roots a little lower, give them room to spread. The basil releases a peppery perfume as I work. I notice the tenderness required. Too much pressure and stems snap. Too little and roots stay bound. I file the tactile memory away. It feels like the balance between challenge and safety I try to offer myself these days. Growth needs roomy containers and gentle hands. The Butterfly Interlude. Stepping outside the greenhouse, I witness a monarch unfurling wet wings on a sunflower head. It pulses them slowly, like lungs testing air for the first time. The orange panels catch a reluctant sunbeam, turning translucent. I freeze, afraid my breath might break the enchantment. Weeks ago, I watched a cormorant dive in the river. Today, a butterfly emerges from stillness. Both moments whisper the same truth. Transformation is quiet before it is sudden. You toil unseen, you wrestle in darkness, and then one morning you show your colors to the sky. Lunch beneath the fig tree. We pause beneath a sprawling fig whose leaves clap softly whenever a breeze applauds. I share my sandwich with Miriam. She shares stories of the garden's beginnings. A vacant lot, piles of rubble, neighbors skeptical. We started with one raised bed, she says, then another. People saw vegetables instead of trash, and suddenly everyone wanted to help. As we sip mint tea, she asks what brought me here. I tell her about river reflections, mindful pauses, gentle speech. She listens the way soil drinks rain, nothing forced, nothing wasted. When I finish, she nods. Plants teach what words can't. 8. The art of watering. Afternoon sun burns off the drizzle. Miriam hands me a hose with a rose head nozzle. Water from below the leaves, she advises. Slow and steady until the soil gleams like well-oiled wood. I weave between beds, careful not to splash tomato foliage. Wet leaves invite disease. The hose hums, arcs of silver catching sunlight. I realize I'm humming too, an old melody my grandmother used while watering her roses. I think of conversations, when to drench, when to mist, when to step back and let roots search deeper. Care is timing plus attention. The vegetables respond visibly. Squash leaves lift, pepper plants stand taller, and my own spine mirrors them. Sharing the harvest. Before I leave, Miriam invites me to pick produce for tonight's dinner. We fill a basket. Rainbow chard, cherry tomatoes, a fistful of herbs. She insists I take 2 eggs from the resident chicken coop. Edith and Eleanor's daily contribution. I protest. She winks. Abundance multiplies when shared. At the gate, I spot a young father with his son, both hesitant. I offer them half my tomatoes. The boy's eyes widen. He bites one like an apple, juice streaking his chin. Suddenly, the garden feels larger, its fences more porous. The ripples from a single seed stretch farther than I can see. Sunset notes and seed packets. Back home, kitchen windows flung wide, I saute chard with garlic, basil, and a squeeze of lemon. The eggs fry sunny side up, yolks the color of marigolds. I eat slowly, tasting drizzle, soil, and sun in every bite. By candlelight, I open my notebook. Weeding. Remove what crowds growth, gently and often. Compost. Let decay nourish future seasons. Up potting. Give roots room. Support without squeezing. Butterfly. Quiet labor precedes bright arrival. Watering. Deliver care in the way recipients can absorb. Harvest. Generosity keeps the garden and the heart fertile. Tucked inside the notebook are 5 seed packets, Miriam, pressed into my hand at parting. Lettuce, calendula, radish, dill, and a mix labeled simply, Surprise Pollinators. On each packet, she wrote a question. Where will you sow these? Who will you invite to watch them grow? What will you feed the soil? How will you know when it's time to harvest? What part of yourself will you return to compost? I place the packets beside the pebble, candle stub, and Rachel's traveling sketchbook, my growing altar of reminders. Rain returns, tapping like gentle applause against the glass. I fall asleep picturing roots unfurling beneath dark soil, trusting unseen warmth, preparing for their own quiet, sudden ascent. And I understand. The garden is not a place I visit. It is a practice I carry. One seed of patience, one leaf of kindness, one harvest of shared joy at a time. Chapter 8. Cultivating Gratitude. I wake before the alarm again, but today a single word hovers at the edge of consciousness. Thanks. Not a command, not a forced mantra, simply a whisper asking to be heard. I decide to spend the next 24 hours exploring that word the way a gardener studies soil, turning it over, sifting it fine, searching for hidden life. Dawn's first thank you. Before my feet touch the floor, I lie still, fingertips on my chest, and thank my heart for its unceasing labor. The beat is soft, faithful, older than any memory. I thank my lungs for the cool air they draw, my eyes for the gray light that leaks around the curtains. It feels awkward at first, gratitude aimed inward instead of outward, but the awkwardness passes like a cloud revealing blue. The Gratitude Ledger. In the kitchen, I open a brand new notebook, pages cream white and eager. On the cover, I write, Ledger of Thanks. The word ledger delights me. It implies deposits, interest, growth. I jot 3 headings: people, places, moments under people I list. Mrs. Delgado, grocery tote. Leo, bus driver. Miriam, garden mentor. Under places: Willow Street Garden, Riverside Landing, Cafe on Maple and 3rd. Under moments: Monarch unfolding, fridge rescue laughter, page 23, sketch surprise. The list is seed-like, tiny, potent, promising whole forests, thanking the ordinary. Brew coffee and thank the kettle for its reliable hiss, the beans for traveling continents to greet my dawn, the mug for holding heat. Steam curls upward. I inhale and thank the scent itself for stirring my senses. At the sink, I rinse dishes and whisper thanks to the tap water, clear, abundant, cold. I think of drought-stricken places on the evening news and feel humility weighed gentle and real as the porcelain plates. Commute of kind acknowledgments. On the sidewalk, I tuck the ledger into my bag and resolve to speak at least one gratitude aloud at every stage of transit. To the bus driver, Leo. Your steady driving makes city mornings. Feel safe, thank you. To a commuter who scoots aside. I appreciate the space. Hope your day starts smoothly. To the teenager in headphones who offers his seat to an elder, I tap his shoulder, thumbs up, mouthing, nice move. He grins, pink beneath freckles. Each expression lands like a pebble dropped into water. Small splash, widening rings, subtle lift in posture. The elevator experiment. In the lobby elevator, I greet the crowd with a cheerful, "Good morning, everyone. Great weather for a fresh start." A few chuckles, a few surprised eyebrow lifts. When doors open at each floor, I thank the person nearest the buttons for chauffeuring. The steel box, usually a coffin of silence, becomes a short-ride salon of shared smiles. Thank you, Post-its. At my desk, I scatter gratitude like confetti, a yellow square on Jared's monitor. Your color tweaks yesterday made the mock-up sing. Nice. Work. A pink note on Sam the intern's keyboard. Printer heroics saved the afternoon. Legendary. A green slip on the facilities manager's door. Fridge sparkle, car morale boost. Thanks for tossing the compost with us. I do not sign my name. The mystery is part of the gift. By noon, I hear whispers, laughter, the rustle of Post-its being compared like rare trading cards. Crisis turned blessing. Just before lunch, a server glitch wipes our shared drive. Groans ripple through the office. Panic flutters in my gut, but I pause and ask, where is the hidden gratitude? Answer, backups. On instinct, I sprint to the IT bay and thank Marcus, the night shift technician, for religiously running 2 a.m. backups. He blinks behind thick glasses, then launches the recovery in half the usual time. 20 minutes later, we're restored, and I post a company-wide message. Next time you see Marcus, thank him. Today's savior. Applause emojis flood the chat. The gratitude walk. During lunch, I loop the block with the ledger in hand, jotting thank yous on the fly. Thank you, campaign poster pigeon, for cooing a bass line to the traffic's treble. Thank you, cracked sidewalk, for nursing tiny dandelions. Thank you, passing thundercloud, for your silver underbelly. Writing as I walk feels poetically illicit, like sketching graffiti on time itself. Each sight becomes gift rather than backdrop. Surprise. Call from Rachel. Mid-afternoon, the cafe rings. Rachel, the journal artist. She thanks me again and describes how my note sparked a morning of chance encounters for her. She mailed the journal to a cousin in another city with instructions to keep it traveling. Your kindness has wheels now, she laughs. We swap email, addresses, and promises to share future pages. Gratitude circuits across miles, blossoms into friendship. 10. Gratitude, letters unsent, yet felt. After work, I write 3 longhand letters. To my 7th grade English teacher, Mr. Stone, who told 12-year-old me that metaphors could be secret doorways. To my estranged college roommate, Evan, acknowledging the music discoveries he gifted me even though we parted on sour terms. To my late grandmother, Rose, thanking her for the hummingbird feeder that first taught me to sit still. I do not mail them yet. The act of writing is its own release. The ledger gains 3 new entries under people. Dinner and candlelight. I roast garden vegetables, carrots caramelized, dill scattered over radishes, and plate them on the chipped ceramic inherited from Rose. I set a candle beside the dish, even though I'm dining alone, and say aloud, thank you, earth and rain. Thank you, seed in hand. Thank you, fire and flavor. Thank you, hunger that teaches me to savor. The words pulse through the room, a quiet spell. Sunset ceremony on the roof. Night settles violet and gold. I carry the ledger, a pen, and the pebble from the river to the rooftop. City lights shimmer like distant campfires. I add the day's final entries. Thank you, sky, for proving daily that endings can glow. Thank you, self, for noticing. I close the notebook and tap the cover 3 times, an improvised seal. Then I place the river stone at the ledge's edge, Let my fingers rest on its cool smoothness and whisper thanks to the journey that began with its discovery. Counting backwards into sleep. In bed, I practice a new ritual, counting gratitudes, backward from 10 to 0. Warm sheets. 9. Electric lamp glow. 8. Lavender scent lingering on wrist. 7. Steady rain forecast for thirsty seedlings. 6. Marcus's backups. 5. Rachel's phone call. 4. Pigeon bass line. 3. Dandelion sidewalk crack. 2. Mint tea steam. 1. Heartbeat in my ear. 0. The spacious hush in which the counting ends. Sleep descends as lightly as dew, carrying me into dreams where every object wears a small tag that reads gift. 14. Epilogue. Interest earned. At 3 a.m., I stir briefly, half awake. In the quiet, I sense gratitude returning interest, like tiny investors dropping coins of peace into my chest. Even unconscious, the heart recognizes the deposit. I drift back, under, wealthier than when the day began. And so the ledger closes on its first full page, heavier with ink, lighter with living. Tomorrow the book will open again, blank and bright, eager for fresh entries, because gratitude, once cultivated, is a perennial. It dies back, yes, but always pushes green through new soil, seeking sun, inviting song. Chapter 9. Embracing all emotions. I awaken to wind rattling the window panes and a knot of unease in my stomach. The gratitude glow of yesterday has thinned overnight, leaving a rawness I can't name. For a moment I berate myself. You were doing so well. Why feel heavy again? Then I remember Miriam's garden wisdom. Nothing blooms without first splitting seed. Today, the seed is splitting from the inside, and I choose to watch rather than flee. Storm gray sunrise. The sky is pewter, clouds skimming low like iron ships. Rain gusts sideways, pelting rooftops hard enough to drum thoughts loose. I brew coffee and notice disappointment swirling in me like grounds that refuse to settle. Meetings postponed, bills due, a lingering ache behind my eyes. Instead of forcing cheer, I wrap both palms around the mug and murmur, "You're allowed." Permission softens the inner knot. Coffee tastes earthier, the bitterness honest. Outside, a lightning flash exposes the city's skeleton, a bright X-ray of cranes, chimneys, and cables. Everything looks stark, stripped of illusion, and I feel oddly grateful for the clarity. The broken umbrella lesson. On the walk to the bus, a sudden squall snaps my umbrella inside out. Rain slaps my face. Commuters scatter under awnings. Instinct screams frustration, but I pause long enough to feel all the textures: cold water on cheeks, sting of wind, embarrassment at my flimsy gear, a flicker of humor at the umbrella's inverted spider shape. I breathe once for each sensation: cold, sting, shame, humor, labeling them silently like stones laid in a line. The labeling disarms the surge. Emotions untangle into distinct threads. I close the useless umbrella, tilt my head back, and let rain soak my hair. A laugh escapes, a wild, startled bark, and I notice two strangers smiling in solidarity. We are all wet, all ridiculous, all strangely alive. Office under pressure. The elevator ride is crowded and damp. Steam rises from coats like tired ghosts. At my desk, I find an email announcing budget cuts. Our project timeline slashed. Headcount frozen. A wave of anxiety crashes. Future uncertain. Pay raise unlikely. Team morale brittle. I open the ledger of thanks and jot the feeling down. Anxiety, sharp, metallic, buzzing. Then I ask it aloud, quietly, so colleagues don't think I've lost it. What do you need? The answer surfaces. Stability. I can't conjure budget, but I can. Tidy my workspace, map the new timeline, schedule a team huddle. Action becomes a bridge between anxiety and agency. By noon, the metal buzz has dulled to a manageable hum. The tear-stained stairwell. After lunch, I scroll news on my phone and stumble upon a story of wildfire devastation across the ocean. Images of charred hills, lost homes, bewildered children flood the screen. An unexpected sob rises. I duck into the emergency stairwell, sit on a concrete step, and let tears fall. Grief feels hot, salt, alive. I place a hand on my chest, breathing through the ache. Memories surface. Childhood cartoons about saving forests, my first camping trip, the cedar smell of night air. I realize grief is love in heavy clothing, love for trees I've never met, people I'll never know. When the tears subside, I text a donation to a relief fund. It's small, but the act grounds the love. I write in the ledger. Grief showed me how wide my heart can stretch. Anger's red spark. Back at my desk, Jared approaches, voice tight. He blames the new timeline. on my optimistic estimates. Heat flares in my gut. I sense the old reflex: defend, deflect, retaliate, ignite like dry tinder. Pause. I envision anger as a red spark in my palm, hot, dangerous, but also potential light. I ask it, "What do you protect?" The answer surprises me. Respect. Jared, I say, keeping tone firm but calm. I feel upset because the work matters to me too. Let's look at the numbers together. He softens. We spread spreadsheets side by side, and anger cools into constructive focus. We discover a miscommunication in resource allocation, neither of us solely at fault. The spark becomes lamp instead of wildfire. Joy in a janitor's song. Evening approaches. While returning files to the cabinet, I hear humming echo down the corridor. Janet, the night janitor, pushes her cart, singing a 1970s soul ballad in warm alto. Joy tiptoes into my chest, tentative and bright. I walk alongside her for a few steps, harmonizing softly on the chorus. Her eyes widen, then sparkle. We share the next verse in duet, voices blending above the hum of vacuum cleaners. The song ends. We laugh, pure, ringing. I note in the ledger, joy, honey gold, buoyant, contagious. No special occasion, simply two humans lighting a hallway with music. Evening solitude, meeting loneliness. At home, the apartment feels hollow, rain pattering, fridge hum loud in the stillness. Loneliness arrives, an old guest I once banished with television noise and social scrolling. Tonight I invite it to sit. I brew chamomile tea, set a second empty cup opposite me at the table, and imagine loneliness sipping quietly. I ask what it needs. It answers in silence. Company without distraction. So I read a poem aloud. Mary Oliver again. Lines about geese and belonging. The words echo off walls, fill the space, settle in my bones. Loneliness exhales, transforming into peaceful aloneness. The mirror of compassion. Before bed, I stand in front of the bathroom mirror, the same glass that once reflected perpetual discontent. I look at my rain-frizzed hair, red-rimmed eyes, faint coffee stain on my collar. Tenderness swells. Thank you for feeling, I whisper to the reflection. Thank you for not shutting down. I imagine wiping steam off the mirror of my own heart, clearing it enough to see every emotion's face. Joy twirling, anger frowning, grief bowed, gratitude smiling, loneliness listening. all parts of the same inner choir. Ledger closeout. By candlelight, I list today's emotions with textures. Rain-soaked disappointment, cool gray cleansing, anxiety, buzz, metallic, vibrating, motivating, grief, heat, molten, heavy, connective, anger, spark, red, defensive, illuminating, joy, honey, golden, effervescent, shared, loneliness, mist, pale, quiet, spacious. I draw arrows between them, noting how one morphed into another. Disappointment, humor, anxiety, action, grief, compassion, anger, collaboration, loneliness, peace. The page becomes a map of rivers converging into an ocean called human. 10. Night watch reflection. In bed, I practice a final exercise. Rain. Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture. I revisit each feeling, cradle it for 2 breaths, thank it, and let it drift. Sleep arrives like a tide retreating over sand, carrying footprints of every emotion yet leaving the shore smooth. Just before dreams take hold, a certainty pulses once. Wholeness isn't the absence of storms, it's the capacity to stand in. Rain, sun, and twilight with equal presence. And in that moment I realize tomorrow will bring new weather, new waves, new colors of feeling, and I am ready to welcome them all. Chapter 10. A New Horizon. A faint coral glow traces the skyline when I rise. Earlier than ever. No alarm, no hurry. Simply an inner tug toward open air. Today feels different. Not a lesson to learn or a wound to soothe, but a wide, uncluttered space asking, what next? I cinch my boots, slip the river pebble into one pocket, Miriam's seed packets into the other, and step outside to meet the future. The hill before dawn. A short train ride carries me beyond the city's last apartment, blocks to a trailhead that winds up Elderberry Hill. Mist curls among pines. The path smells of wet bark and promise. Each breath is cool, clean, and steady. Halfway up, I pause. Not from fatigue, but reverence, and look back at the glittering grid of streets below. The city appears fragile, like circuitry on the verge of glowing brighter than it knows. I whisper gratitude for every spark that led me here. Summit silence. I crest the hill as the sun's rim breaks free of the horizon. Light pours across the valley, gold spilling over rooftops, train tracks, river bends. I sit on a flat boulder, legs crossed, palms open. Instead of meditating on breath, I listen for life's new cadence, slower than ambition, quicker than despair, tuned to something vast and kind. A thought floats up like morning lark song. The journey never ends, it widens. Planting the future. From my pocket, I withdraw one of Miriam's seed packets, the mystery mix labeled Surprise Pollinators. I dig a shallow trench in the hillside soil, sprinkle seeds, cover them, and press gently. Grow wherever you are planted, I murmur. In that moment, I understand that goals need not be skyscraper high. Sometimes they are seed small, meant to root unseen until their flowers call bees from galaxies away. A stranger's question. Footsteps crunch behind me. A hiker, mid-50s, weather-creased smile, nods hello. Beautiful morning, isn't it? He says. Yes, I reply, gesturing at the valley. It feels like the first page of a new chapter. He grins. What's the chapter called? Without hesitation, I answer, possibility. He chuckles, tips his cap, and continues down the trail. His simple question reinforces my resolve. Every new horizon begins as a sentence we dare to speak aloud. Mapping the next steps. Notebook open on A. My knee, I sketch 3 circles. Inner work. Continue dawn rituals. Mindful pauses. Emotional check-ins. Community. Volunteer twice a month at Willow Street Garden. Start a seed exchange table. Host 1 open-air poetry night. Legacy. Pass Rachel's. Traveling journal to a teenager who thinks art isn't for them. Email Mr. Stone my 7th grade gratitude letter. Digitize mom's favorite recipes into a family archive. The circles overlap, forming a Venn of purpose. In the center, I write one word. Share. Testing the tools. Descending the hill, I meet challenges on cue. Mud tries to steal my boot. I laugh and dance free. A wasp buzzes near my ear. I exhale calm instead of flailing. At the station ticket machine, a tourist struggles with language settings. I guide her through, practicing gentle speech in a new tongue of patience. Each encounter proves the practices are not souvenirs. They are instruments ready for any field. The horizon inside others. Back in the city, I swing by the community garden. Miriam waves me over to admire tiny carrot tops pushing through soil, green exclamation marks. She hands me a paper cup of seedlings. Start a windowsill garden, she says. Horizons don't always need acreage. I pocket the cup carefully, realizing horizons can be spatial, temporal, or relational, anywhere vision meets willingness. Evening Lighthouse. After sunset, I stroll to Riverside Landing, the place where reflection first asked, "What if the problem is me?" Lights twinkle on the water. The fisherman, Leo the bus driver, and Janet the singing janitor gather on the deck for their unofficial Friday jam session. They wave me up. Someone passes a spare harmonica. I join, rusty but fearless. Our mixed instruments weave river cool. Blues, notes rising like lanterns over dark water. The music feels less like performance, more like lighthouse beams inviting distant ships, an audible horizon. Closing the ledger, opening the door. Home again, candle lit. I turn to the final. Blank sheet of the ledger of thanks and write, "Thank you, old self, for surviving until learning became possible. Thank you, new self, for remembering the lessons are alive, not archived. Thank you, unknown self, for the chapters you will author beyond my sight." I close the notebook, and instead of placing it on the shelf, I leave it on the hallway, table with a pen and a note. Add a gratitude, pass it forward. Tomorrow I'll set it in the building lobby, a communal seed waiting to sprout unknown blossoms. Ciao. Horizon in the dark. Before sleep, I switch off every light and stand by the window. Only the city's distant glow remains, outlining towers and bridges like constellations of human endeavor. I press the river pebble to my heart, feel its cool certainty. The horizon outside blends with the horizon inside, a borderless expanse where dawn is always preparing its next brushstroke. I whisper a final vow. I will meet each morning as a traveler greets an uncharted coast, curious, humble, awake. Then I lie down, the night sky bending overhead, and drift into dreams stitched with wide rivers, blooming seeds, and roads that bend forever toward light, each curve a new horizon, eager for the footstep of becoming. Great work today! Every moment you spend practicing brings you closer to mastering your English listening and speaking skills. Remember, progress comes with patience and consistency. If this story inspired you or helped you in your learning journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Easy English Spark channel for more lessons and stories. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep believing in your growth. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and keep shining.